Before we do anything about the sleeve, we'll first take the measurement of the armhole. So I'll take the measurement from the top, following the curve all through to that chest line. So the end point of the chest line. So wherever I stop would be where I will start taking the back measurement from. So I'll follow the curve of the back to the same end point as well. And after doing that, what I got was 21 3/4 inches. So I got 21 3/4 inches, but that will not be what I'll be working with. So I'll be removing some measurement because I'll be joining on the shoulder line, and I'll be removing 1 inch from that measurement. So I'll be removing 1 inch. So I'll be working with 20 3/4 inches because half inch will be chopped off from the top, and half inch will also be chopped off for the front piece. So the front and the back piece will lose half inch on either side. In cutting my sleeve, like you've seen, the first thing I did was to draw a straight line. Then I will make another perpendicular line to that straight line, and on that new line I'll take the depth of my sleeve, and that is 9.5 inches. So depending on how big the person is, you can make yours 10, or if the person is small, you can make yours 9. So after marking 9.5 inches, I'll be joining all those points like that with a straight line, and that will just be to show the range our work would reach. So from the top to that 9.5 inches, whatever we are cutting will not exceed both positions. So I'll just join like that. Then I will go straight to the marking of the sleeve length. So for our sleeve length is 25.5. So I'll be marking 25.5 on different positions. So that is our sleeve length. And mind you that we'll be working with a wristband. So technicalities will come into play, and I'll be explaining how to maneuver your way through all that. So that is our sleeve length, the beginning to the end. So 25.5. But the first thing I'll do will be to add half inch on the armholes position, because half inch will be used in joining the sleeve to the body of the cloth. So to the bodice of the cloth, half inch will be needed to join that. Now for the wristband, I'm actually marking 2.5 inches all through on that wrist line like that. So I've marked 2.5 inches. Mind you, the wristband is attachable. So what you will do now is you will remove half inch from that wristband measurement, because half inch will be used by the sleeve to join the wristband. So you remove half inch from that wristband measurement. That is, you are adding half inch to the sleeve measurement. So after doing that, I'll be dividing our depth into 2. Then I'll be coming forward by 5.5 inches. I'll make a curve from the top to pass through the half inch and meet the 5.5 inches point. But I'll be using my armhole measurement to check all that. So if it is bigger, I'll reduce it. I'll mark half inch from the edge like that, and that half inch will be responsible for our round arm measurement. So the biggest part of your sleeve, that is that part of your sleeve that is very big, that when you wear your clothes it actually gives fitting. So that line will be responsible for that measurement. For the wrist, I will be marking 6.5 inches. Then I will go straight to that round and mark my round arm measurement, then add half inch for sewing allowance. Then I'll be checking the armhole measurement on my curve. So I'll go straight to my curve, check the armhole measurement. If it is too big, I would have to reduce that curve because it already looks too deep in. So I will reduce it like that, then I'll check. But after checking, that doesn't mean I will cut exactly the same size, because when you are joining your sleeve to your bodice, you realize your sleeve always lose measurement. So that is where it ends. But I'll be adding excesses from that point, and I'll be joining to my round arm and also to my wrist position. We've used the pattern paper to cut the sleeve, so that center point is very important. So from that center point, I'll take 3.5 inches downwards, and I'll mark that on 2 different positions. join with a straight line, and that is the wrong face I'm actually working with. So both fabrics are placed right face facing right face. Then I'll mark as long as 4 inches, after which I'll cut. And when I get to that point, I'll go diagonal by half and also diagonally by half. So I've actually created an opening for the right and also for the left sleeve. So as it is now, you can't use the right for the left or the left for the right sleeve. So that is a 3/4 inches wide and 6.5 inches long cut. So I folded into two and created an arrowhead, and I will use that shape to cut out the arrowhead for the other piece as well. And that will be what I'll do. So you could see the way I attached it to the fabric. Half inch excess was on one side and over a 1 inch excess was on the other side. So I'll bend the half inch excess on that side, use a pressing iron to hold it down, bend all the half inch excesses on the arrowhead positions as well. Then I'll bend the over 1 inch excesses. So that's just that. So after doing that, I've created the arrowhead. So you can see both are facing each other like that. So you can't use one arrowhead for another sleeve. One arrowhead will only work for one particular sleeve, either your right or your left sleeve. So you can see me cutting out pieces, and those pieces I'll be using to turn where I'll be fixing those arrowheads. So to fix those arrowheads, I'll turn it over like that. So I'll look for the arrowhead that will fit in. So that is the arrowhead that will fit in. It must come from the wrong face to the right face. So I'll turn into the wrong face, place that pieces like that, then make a half inch stitch on the edge. After making that half inch stitch, I'll turn it to cover up that part, but I won't fold the sewing excesses. So I'll just turn it to cover up that part, then I'll sew on the edge, making sure I'm not folding any excesses inward. So those excesses will not be tampered with. You just use it to cover the sewing excesses. So after sewing on the edge, that's that. So I'll just trim off the excesses on top and the excesses before the diagonal notches. Then I'll place the arrowhead from the wrong face. So I'll place the arrowhead from the wrong face, make a half inch stitch. After making that half inch stitch, I'll turn it over to the right face. Then I'll stitch on the edge. So I'll stitch on the edge from the top down to that arrow point. When I get to that arrow point, I'll stop. I will now rearrange the other part inwards so that my next stitches will cover that part. So I will come forward by, let's say, 1.5 or 2 inches. Then I will go sideways to the end. So I will come like that, go sideways to the end. So I will come, get to that point, stop, place the other part inwards, then make sure my stitch cover that part, come up by 2 inches, then go sideways to the end. So after doing that, you can see we are done preparing that. So like I said, this is for a particular sleeve. This is for your left hand. So this can work for only your left hand. So the other will work for your right hand. And the arrowhead can only work for one particular sleeve. We are done making the arrowheads of the right and also for the left sleeve. So the next thing I'll be doing will be to show you what we'll get if we actually join. So this is where we are actually heading to. But before we get to that destinations, there are a lot of things we need to take into consideration, and that is the armhole. So the armhole for the front piece must be reduced. The armhole for the front piece of the sleeve rather. So you start from the edge of the down part of the sleeve, then you cut by half, then you end up on the edge of the upper part. So from edge through half, then up until the upper part. So you don't tamper with the the down part and also the upper part. The only part you tamper with is the space in between. So for the space in between, you tamper by a ½ inch. So I'm using that piece to cut the other part, and all this would be only for the front piece. So you can see the armor of the front piece is reduced for both the right and also for the left sleeve. So the arrowhead will be joined in between the sleeve and the borders of the shirt. So I'll place the arrowhead like that. You can use any size you want depending on how big you want yours to be. You can use 2.5 for the bigger part and 1.5 for the smaller part. Then you use the 6 inches long like that. So just depending on what you want, you can use 2, 1. You can use 2.5, 3/4 inch. So that's just it. So for the wristband, which is 10 by 2.5 and folded on the down line, so I added the interface of that measurement. Then I'll be sewing on the edge of the interface on both pieces for the right and also for the left. Mind you, you will not sew the down line, just only the edge of the side all through like that. This is what you will get when you are done. So when you are done, this is what you will get. But before we go here, there was something we did, and that is the double stitching on the side, and I'll be showing you how to do that. So I'll be showing you how to do the double stitching on the side. So the gaiter is also important, because that gaiter is where you will bend your excesses when you are fixing the wristband to the sleeve. So the beginning point of that will start there and the end point will get there, then every excess in between will be under that gaiter. Let's rewind a little bit. So when we joined our sleeve, this is what we got. So the arrowhead was placed in between the sleeve and the borders on the shoulder line. So on the shoulder line. So for us to get our double stitches on the side, which is very important, you adjust one part to be longer than the other part. Then from that shorter part, you take a ½ inch stitch away from the edge to hold both pieces together like that, and that would be your first stitch. That would be your first stitch. So for the other side, the part that was shorter will now become the longer part, and the part that was longer will now become the shorter part. Then you sew by ½ inch away from the edge of the shorter part. Now you've succeeded in creating our first stitch, and that's that. For the second stitch, you just open up like that. So you could see one part is longer than the other part. So for the second stitch, you just open up, fold the longer part to cover the shorter part by ½ inch. Then you sew on top on the edge. Make sure what you are folding is not bigger than ½ inch, and whatever you are folding must be uniform. It must be the same from the beginning till the end. For the other part, you just do exactly the same. You fold and you sew on the edge. Make sure your folding is not bigger than ½ inch. And for the down line, you just check to make sure they are of the same length. So when you confirm they are of the same length, you'll be sewing on the curve. And to sew folding on the curve of a down line, you bend once, bend twice, then you sew on the edge. And while sewing, you make sure your hand is 2 inches away from the needle of the machine, holding down the parts you are yet to sew but you've already folded. That is how you maintain your folding sewing when you are sewing the down line of a shirt. Your hands would be 2 inches or 1.5 inches away from the needle, holding it down.